investigation is the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Director, thanks so very much for being here this morning. And I know that this is a DHS investigation, but there is outrage across the country that there is another killing. Someone is dead at the hands of Border Patrol. What can you tell us?
Great to be with you, Maria. And look, Secretary Noem stated it perfectly. You do not get to attack law enforcement officials in this country without any repercussions. You do not get to do that in Minnesota, LA, or anywhere else. And the interagency is leading the charge out there. We've already arrested with the interagency those that violated the FACE Act and impeded a peaceful prayer in church. We've already just last night arrested 4 more individuals involved in the damage of government property that we saw the videos of online. We've arrested other individuals who've made threats to law enforcement online. So we are not messing around. It doesn't have to be in person. If you threaten law enforcement officials or civilians, we are going to come find you. And as for this latest shooting, yes, DHS and HSI are the lead, and the FBI is processing the physical evidence. So we're in possession of the firearm, which is going to go to our laboratory. But as Secretary Noem said, no one who wants to be peaceful shows up at a protest with a firearm that is loaded with 2 full magazines. That is not a peaceful protest, and you do not get to touch law enforcement. You do that anywhere, this FBI is going to be leading the charge to arrest those.
Facts. You do not get a right to impede law enforcement. I mean, these ICE agents, they ain't playing. Fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out. FAFO. People's like, well, you know, now these liberals, they're all Second Amendment now. Oh, well, he had the right to protest and pack his heat. This is always going to be a stretch of the truth. Right and wrong in battles here. But boy, it's getting juicy. It is getting juicy by the minute. He's laying out, you have all these rights, but impeding what we're doing, he's trying to make the case that, look, this reporter presses Kash Patel, and we're going to get into this whole video. I haven't really had a chance to diagnose it and look at the whole thing, but we're going to look at it together, and I'm going to go ahead and look at it with you and go over it together with you. But she really presses Kash Patel. She's not letting up. She's hitting him with some hardball questions, and we'll see what he has to say here. It seems like the just crutch of his argument is that everybody has rights, but getting in the way of law enforcement. Whether or not you can maintain those rights and still impede or get in the way. And obviously us at home, we're just, when shit pops off, then we're looking at the camera. It's like many YouTube, TikTok clicks. Things are going viral. We don't actually know the setup prior to that. We just get the end result. So he's like, hey, you got a right to protest, right to bear arms. You do not have the right to impede. Because one thing people need to understand who are against ICE is that in red cities, these sex offenders, murderers, whatever, they serve their time. Then when they get out of jail, they get a phone call, ICE does. Hey, come get them. They're over here. Boom, they hand them over to ICE, and then they're deported after they do their time. In the blue cities, sanctuary cities, if they do at all serve some time, when they're done, maybe, I don't know, to keep getting votes, or I don't know why, but they don't work with ICE. So after they serve their time, they're just released into the streets and into the blue cities. And so now ICE is having to go into these streets and find these people. And so they're in pursuit of these people, and these protesters are in pursuit of ICE. It's some crazy shit. But let's get into this video, because she really presses Kash Patel on, hey, the second involved ICE shooting what you gonna do? You know, the Democrats with all this outrage, they making a comeback. What you gonna do to quell the outrage, son? Let's see. We're on the Unpopular Opinion Show with the Cajun conservative, Johnny Caruso. Welcome to the show.
How was he threatening Border Patrol? You've collected the evidence, you said, right? You have the handgun in your possession?
That's right.
And how was he using that handgun in terms of threatening Border Patrol? What was the threat? He had his camera, right? He was filming it.
That's something that I will let the DHS and the prosecutors, because they are the ones investigating that case. I don't want to stylize that evidence, but I trust the men and women on the ground who are trained professionals to only use it when it's absolutely necessary. And I trust Secretary Noem's leadership and DHS and HSI to do the right thing, as they've always done in these scenarios.
Kristi Noem said that the individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Was the gun visible? Or did Border Patrol see the gun after they shot him?
Again, all those pieces of the investigation are being led by DHS and HSI, and I don't want to comment on their ongoing investigation.
I understand, but you have the evidence. What can you tell us about the evidence you collected?
It's sent to our FBI laboratory where it'll be fingerprinted. We'll use ballistics examination toolkits to see if any casings were fired, and we'll examine all the casings that were found on the scene.
How much of this has to do with some of the rhetoric, in your view? Just 2 weeks ago, the governor, Tim Walz, told residents to get their phones and start filming whatever is happening and when they see Border Patrol. Listen to this. This is just 2 weeks ago from Governor Tim Walz. Watch.
If you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Your reaction?
I'm going to let him go ahead and react here in a second. But I'm going to give my reaction. Him, the governor, inciting people to basically follow ICE around and film them, it's no different than your local police. Imagine you had a governor say, hey, go around and just start filming the local police. Every time, everywhere you see them, just start filming them. There's going to be issues and problems with that. A better response would be for the governor to tell people, hey, look, back off, let them do their job. You know, let them do their job. But it's already a situation. See, people don't really know the whole situation with him, Tim Walz, the governor, and the fraud the hammer that's about to come down on him and the whole healthcare scheme and these illegals who were voting in his city. So he has an incentive to keep these illegals there. But the layman's person is just tuning in through the news and they're seeing footage of officers shooting and, oh, we hate the police, fuck the police, screw the police, you know, use rubber bullets, but anything but kill somebody. You didn't have to do it. And they don't understand what's going on. I can't take everybody step by step and hold their hand and get them updated. But the governor, in my point of view, everything I've been following, he's got an incentive. It helps him. The propaganda helps him stay in power. If there's smoke screens to take away from what he's been doing, and to focus on this, you know, get ICE out, because he wants the whole federal government out of there because they're investigating them hard for some shit. And you know, I don't know where all the protests were when all the illegals killed and murdered all them little girls when they was over here, you know. The other day, they came, this guy, Walt, said that ICE is grabbing 5-year-old boys to lure the immigrants in as bait, when in fact, and they do this a lot, they ran up on the illegal immigrant, he took off running and left his little boy behind. You know, and the news, they ran with, oh, ICE is grabbing little 5-year-old boys, you know. I think the wrong impression many get is that conservatives and people like myself, like, we want to see these people get killed. No, that's not really, like, yeah, y'all was happy to see Charlie Kirk get killed or watch a little bit short clips that was taken out of context and never once went and seen those real full video clips to see he was far from a racist. But we do not like to see people get killed. We really want to avoid all that. And staying out of law enforcement business, that's one way to do it. The governor is not telling you to go around and follow law enforcement with a camera. That's 2 ways to not get killed. And just listen to what they say. Because I'm going to play some more of this. But there is a video where the guy did have a gun on him. And a law enforcement agency who was like just kind of snuck in like a huddle, grabbed the gun out of the guy's band, right? You got to understand, he was tussling. He wasn't obeying the commands. He approached them. He had it on his mind whether we don't know what he was going to do or not do. He approached them. They're like, hey, we're conducting this business. Obviously, they knew he had a gun. He had to have showed it somehow. They wrestled him to the ground, right? Trying to get the gun. He's wiggling and moving. Who knows if he's trying to shoot him? You see a law enforcement reach in and grab the gun away. But it doesn't mean, from my point of view, nobody else, law enforcement, saw the guy reach and grab the gun. So in their mind, they thinking he still has a gun. So when he's reaching like that, somebody pops him. And when one heard a shot, maybe he got his head this way. He turned around, oh, they're shooting. So boom, 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 we're going to shoot you too. It was an accident, but not an accident, if you know what I mean. Like, it was an accident, tragic, that the man lost his life and was where he should not have been, trying to insert himself under the shield of protesting and right to bear arms bullshit. But it shouldn't have happened because, it was an accident for the officers, as in, no, I don't want to be like their whole cover scheme here. I'm not the defendants, but it would appear that they didn't realize that the gun was already withdrawn, and there was a lot of quick rapid fire happening, and the initial officer probably felt like he was going for his gun. People who were not in law enforcement were like, oh, well, there's 3 of you. What do you mean he's going for his gun? You could have did this and that. Look, okay, if that's the kind of emotion you want to hold it for every situation. You know? Like, I know what it is. A lot of you people are bifocal learners. You're used to TikTok and information being with cameras being put in your face. You know how much editing and shit goes behind before and after those videos to make that video look like it looks? But a lot of you guys have been convinced that's real life. And that's everything, right? So when you're shown a video like that, you're convinced like this is the whole detail. You done seen it. But seeing it is only knowing half of what's going on. You know, that doesn't mean you really understand everything. People think, oh, I see it, I understand it. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't know everything. And but look, let's get into the video because she's gonna press him hard here. So let's see what else she has to say, and we'll see what he has to say.
To do that against our law enforcement community is disgusting and revolting, and it should be examined thoroughly as to anyone who's involved in inciting this type of violence. It is absolutely improper, unlawful, and will not be tolerated any type of violence against law enforcement.
But it's not stopping. People are mad at ICE and want Border Patrol to stop. You saw what's happening right now in Minneapolis. People are protesting in the streets, pushing Border Patrol out. How will this end?
My unpopular opinion. She says, people want this to stop. How would this end? blah, blah, blah. That is like coming out of the horse's opposition mouth. That's what Democrats want. Me, I voted for this shit. I voted for this shit. You know it's going to get ugly. If the Democrats weren't involved, look, man, you got shot. You're involved in police business. That's it. Democrats are involved. So it's like, let's not tell people to stop running up in ICE business. Let's tell them to have their cameras out. And then let's make it like it's ICE problem. See, so the people is the Democrats. They the people. So that's the game I'm getting here, is that the people are the Democrats, as in they're the problem. You know, they're the problem creating this shit. There is no the people want this to stop. Nah, we voted for this shit. We voted to get these illegals out of here. And we knew Democrats would put an opposition up. How many, like 7, 8 million Obama deported? They didn't report, and they said, you know, they did one small little report, little clip. That's how we all knew he was locking people up, immigrants, and putting them in cages, actually. That's how we knew. But other than that, they was quiet about it. The problem is you got these blue cities. They're declaring themselves as in a F you to the federal government. Come here illegally. We got you. We got unlimited resources here in America for you. I mean, damn, no you don't. You're not taking care of your own people. That's my problem. Take care of your own people in these cities before you try to take care of the world. Man, let's get back into this. But no, people ain't sick of this. If you smart, you know what's going on. You know, now, if you're not strong and you're gonna let politics tear your emotions up, because this is all political, and you feel like being switchy like Margie Taylor Greene, then yeah, okay, it's not for you. But you Republicans need backbone, you know. And I'm an independent voter anyway, but people just need to see it for what it is, and not for all the BS the media trying to make it out to be, you know. Both them people should be alive if they was minding their own business and not being some Karens, truth be told. Let's get back into the video.
And, you know, I mean, thousands of people are marching through Minneapolis. They are targeting the Border Patrol. I mean, it feels like the rhetoric and the protesting is only ramping up. What is your advice to the people right now who are outraged that this is a second killing at the hands of Border Patrol in 2 weeks?
As Christy said, you cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We will, of course, always protect your First Amendment speech. And if you peacefully protest, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have seen a trend here, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, in these protests turning into violent scenarios and people attacking law enforcement. That's when you go over the line, and that's when law enforcement steps in.
Well, you also have Democrats in general criticizing Border Patrol. It's not just the people who are protesting this. You've got the Department of Justice serving grand jury subpoenas to Minnesota Democrats in this investigation of obstructing ICE, according to reports. What can you tell us about that?
That is a very much ongoing investigation that we are actually involved with and leading out on. So there's really not much I can say, but I can tell you this generally. How do you do an investigation? You make a demand for records when you believe that there's probable cause that laws have been broken, and you make a demand for records of those involved. And in this case, that's exactly what we did of every elected official that was involved. And then the next process, generally speaking, we'll be putting people in grand juries. That's what happens in these investigations.
And there you have it. Grand jury. Indictments. That's what's gonna have to happen. And until their peers, where they're getting their marching orders from, the mayors, the governors, until there's like a legal case for a prosecution against them, as long as they're free and still to spew their rhetoric, and I'm not insinuating lock them up for nothing, but you certainly can indict them for nothing. We've seen Trump get 72 indictments all pending on one situation, which he didn't sign a check correctly to a stripper or a prostitute, and they made 72 crimes on that, and they couldn't get him on a felony. But if they pulled this over here and dragged that and connect the eyes, then they could turn it 2 misdemeanors into a felony. Do whatever they could, and they didn't give a shit that none of this was gonna stick. They just wanted to do it before the election so that he couldn't become president. They didn't care if it actually stuck. Just as long as it was in the news, it's bad blues. And Republicans need to learn that play model from the Democrats. If it's in the news, it's bad blues. Put all these motherfuckers on trial. Yes, indict them. If it don't stick, it don't stick. But drag that shit out. Make them look bad. Make them suffer. Make them have to ask questions. It didn't stick. Okay, oh well. It didn't stick. But you better start putting these motherfuckers on the fire. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Director, let me switch gears. You've also been taking down some of the most wanted fugitives, and you've arrested a list of them. Tell me what you've been focused on and how you've taken down these fugitives.
Yeah, thanks to President Trump's amazing leadership and protection of law enforcement, and thanks to our great partners at the Department of Justice. This year, the Attorney General and us, we have arrested in 2025. We arrested and captured 4 top 10 of the FBI's most wanted. 4. And to put that in perspective, in the Biden administration, they had captured 4 in 4 years. These are the worst of the worst, the gangbangers, the murderers, the drug dealers. Flipping to 2026, in just the last week and a half, Maria, we have seized, I was just down in Mexico this past week, we have apprehended 2 more of the FBI's most wanted fugitives, including Ryan Wedding, who is a Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned into the modern-day El Chapo. And after a year-long campaign and manhunt to go and get this guy, we went down there to Mexico to advance our investigation. Huge thanks to President Trump again and the Department of Justice and the Mexican government and our ambassador, Ron Johnson, down there. This type of work takes a full-on interagency assault. It takes relentless pursuit to make sure that these individuals never harm Americans again. And while we were down there, we also apprehended another top 10 most wanted fugitive, Alejandro Castillo, who brutally murdered a 22-year-old first-generation American over a decade ago in North Carolina. Collectively, these 6 of the top 10 have been on the run for 50 years, half a century. And under President Trump's leadership, they have nowhere to run. That is just amazing interagency law enforcement, and the FBI is leading that charge, and we're happy to bring them home.
Director, what can you tell us about potential outside agitators in some of these stories? We're going to talk with Peter Schweitzer coming up, and he's out with a book on how Mexico and some other adversaries are using immigration to undermine the U.S. Is that part of your investigation?
Any person that breaks the law or impedes law enforcement anywhere in the world will always become a part of our investigation. And just look at the historic year that President Trump has brought Americans this year. We've had a 200% increase in the FBI's arrests this year alone. 67,000, a 200% increase. Of that, let's break down the numbers. 37,000 of those were violent offenders. That's a 100% increase from last year alone. We seized enough fentanyl to kill 150 million Americans, 2,000 kilos, up 31%. Espionage arrests are up 35%. We found and rescued over 6,000 children, up 22%. We've dismantled 1,800 criminal gangs, the Tren de Aragos and MS-13s of the world, up 25%. Human traffickers, we've arrested them at a greater clip to 15%. And child predators, there's more child predators behind bars last year than ever before in the year prior. And we've done it while moving our headquarters building, shutting down the Hoover building this year, saving the taxpayers $5 billion. And we're going to relentlessly pursue justice thanks to President Trump and the Attorney General and add more top 10 captures than we've already done. 6 in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, Director, somehow you've got to get together with the president's detractors, whether it is on the Democrat side or not, to ensure that we don't have mistakes like we've been seeing, so that we are actually seeing what you're talking about, taking down people who deserve it and not, in fact, getting people who are in the middle of fire and in the middle of these operations? Why is it that everything you've just said, the Democrats do not agree in terms of the president's?
Did she just say the Democrats don't agree? But that's an easy one. They're not supposed to agree. They're the opposition. Of course the Democrats don't agree. They wouldn't agree if they knew it was right. Most of them know what Trump is doing is right. You know, they not supposed to agree. I mean, this is just foolish kind of reporting here. But, you know, the numbers, he said they got, 6,000 violent criminals or 6,000 pedophiles off the street. Crazy numbers. Like, that tells me right there what they're doing is working. And this is why we have these podcasts, because they're not going to give you numbers like this on CNN, NBC, and all the, clown laughable networks, mainstream media. They're not going to give you raw numbers what this administration is doing. They're just waiting for one little shoe to drop for them to mess up. And so that's why they're fake news. They lose credibility. They don't report everything. They're just propaganda and agenda based. Let's get back into it.
Well, the Democrats are just upset that it was President Trump that delivered this historic year in law enforcement, this historic, literally record-breaking year for the FBI. And if anyone else had done it, they'd give them credit for it. But that's how shallow and superficial they are. We are going out there with our state and local police officers across the country. These numbers are historic from coast to coast, not just in one conservative town in Texas, but literally from New York to LA and everywhere in between. And President Trump gave resources that were needed to law enforcement. He backed the blue. We have an attorney general who is relentlessly prosecuting these individuals. And all the Democrats want to do is argue. But we put up a posting every single day over the holiday season for every Democratic district who is yelling at us about failing them. We have increased arrests in every single district of every single Democrat that continues to criticize this administration on law enforcement. These numbers don't lie. You can't reduce the murder rate in America by 20 percentage points to an all-time low in the modern era unless crime is going down.
Director, thank you. We will be watching your work. FBI Director Kash Patel.
And there you have it. Hey, y'all like my Christmas tree in the background? Still working on them stage props, but little by little. So there it is. She gave him a grilling, but she wasn't beating around the bush like, hey, give me answers. He didn't really give anybody who was looking for proof to change opinions one way or another. I think, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, if you're looking to be caught up in your algorithms when you look into politics and to be led right to hear what you want to hear, I mean, it's not an episode. I seek truth on this channel, and truth is damn it is what I shall find. And we'll get to the bottom of this story. And just like the last story with the girl, they said, well, her wheel was turned to the right. But her wheel was to the left, but the car went to the right and hit that guy, Again, she shouldn't have been there. I don't think she should have. I don't think it's cool she lost her life. But what about the guy that was in the process of getting ran over? If he doesn't hurry up and shoot real quick through the glass, how much of our car continues to run him over? So in this case, I seen a video where they reached in and grabbed his gun away, but the officers that was still wrestling with him did not know he didn't have his gun on him, and he's reaching around resisting arrest. And that's when they got popped. Maybe they figure, hey, you're going for your gun. and then one officer hears a pop, they all join in, you know? I don't hate law enforcement. Look how many people they deported, like 2-3 million, and you had 2 people like, oh no, they killed way more people. Dude, anytime they kill somebody, CNN's all over like flies on shit. So trust me, it's been 2 people, right? And they deported 2 million. I mean, that's a damn good success rate if you ask me. If they really was the Gestapo and this and that, they've been done killed 50 people a day, truth be told, right? So these people, I mean, go to these other countries where they put down rioters and protests. 50 people a day, sometimes 5,000 people a day get killed, like on civil war going on. So look, we'll follow this story some more and give you some more details when they come in. But thank you for tuning in. And this is the Unpopular Opinion Show. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Until next time, I'll see you. We're on the Unpopular Opinion Show with the Cajun conservative, Johnny Caruso. Welcome to the show.